Hey guys, we are so glad to be back with you on the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. Today we're going to talk about percentage of responsibility in marriage and in your family. So stay tuned.
Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
We're the Bryants with Three Strands Marriage Ministry, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Video Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We're not licensed counselors. However, we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage.
Hey guys, we are so glad to be back with you on the Redeemed Marriage Podcast, and we are super excited about our topic today. I'm super excited about our topic. I am real passionate about this, and therefore it just comes naturally for me to talk about it, and hopefully you'll be able to connect with this in some way. This is definitely one I think you need to watch with your spouse. If it's not you don't want to send it to them and say, be sure to watch this. Yeah. Maybe sit down and watch it together so you guys can talk about it. But today we're going to talk about the percentage of responsibility in marriages and in families. And this is something that I had to learn, and am still learning, quite honestly, but had to learn as far as what a healthy marriage looks like on a give basis. For example, I think that I came into marriage thinking that it's 50-50, that you're going to do 50% of the work, I'm going to do 50% of the work, and that makes up 100%. And those were the good days when we, made up the full percent. But that there were going to be days where maybe I just didn't have quite enough to give, and it just wouldn't be as good those days. Well, what I've learned through the journey of marriage, and not all of this learning comes through crisis. I think we talk about a lot about that, but not all of it comes through crisis. It's just we've been married 24 years, and it's something that we have learned, but I definitely saw it more in our crisis moments and learned from that. But gosh, it's something we have to do every single day. Yeah. Every single day.
Yeah, I think that the world teaches the 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
Like, you just you hear that, give 50, if it's a relationship, I give 50%, you give 50%, and together we make 100%.
That's right.
But yeah, we learned throughout our marriage, like you said, that's not the case. So what's it supposed to be? Give them the answer.
So 50-50 is not the answer. The answer is 100%, 100%. You both have to give everything you have. Now, we do know, and we have walked through times where I know that Rusty cannot give 100% to our marriage. And this means in like keeping the house running, the spiritual leadership, I'm talking cooking, cleaning, taking care of kids.
Well, and when I was thinking about this, because you mentioned the topic, and I started thinking about how I think the mindset and what people are gonna think about giving 100% to something, that's what they're thinking is like, okay, well, I got to do the dishes and wash the clothes and change the baby's diapers.
Right. I mean, and it's more than that.
It is, and like, I started thinking about all the different stuff. Like I think it's even so much as a little bit. Did I have some fuzz? Thank you for taking care of it. You're welcome. You're giving 100%. I think it's even, some of it is not as objective as, you mowed the grass or
that's
whatever.
Right.
There's a lot that's even like, okay, I am committing to giving 100% in all areas of my marriage. That means I'm committing 100% to being faithful to you.
Sure.
That means I'm committing 100% for purity, purity with my eyes, purity with my thoughts. I'm committing 100% to, not talk bad about my spouse in front of friends.
Even jokingly.
Yeah, I'm committing 100% to speak life and speak uplifting thoughts, or words to my spouse. It's all that physical. I'm committing 100% to give physically for my spouse. I mean,
right.
all of that.
Everything.
Taking care of my body. I mean, like we talked about with the, I believe that all of that is it. So,
That's right.
so I when I was thinking about it, I feel like I feel like in marriages, you just get stuck in this rut and you're like, I got to bathe the kids. I bathe
That's
the kids
right.
and I've given 100% today,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But going back to what I was saying, and I mean, I 100% agree with that, and am thankful that you pointed that out, because I have a tendency more to look towards the checklist part, that you can give. And that's a natural thing for me to think of. And for you to pull out, gosh, it's so much more than that and deeper than that is very, very important. But I think in all of those areas that you just mentioned and that I had mentioned, what I was going to say a while ago was there are times that you are not able to give 100%. And there are times through our marriage that I have not been able to give 100%. And you know that going in. Like there's times that I have known he can't do it. This is very much towards my side of things. But in the summers with Bria that he does for his job, the summers are crazy. I mean, we have college students here. I feed them. We take care of them. We, the whole traveling, and he works 24/7 during those months, and I know that going in. So I know emotionally you won't be able to give as much to me and our family. Physically, all the things that you do around the house to help, and those are things that I know going in, gosh, he's not going to be able to give 100% in this, and I know that he comes in tired a lot on those days, and so I have to then give more to bridge that gap in what it looks like. Same thing for me. I mean, you've had to do that for me as well. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you're teaching school, which is for 8 months out of the year or whatever, 9 months, then I know that you're gone for the majority of the day, where I can come home and run home at lunch or whatever, or there's more flexibility. I can take care of things. I can take Logan to his orthodontist appointment, check him out of school, whatever has to happen.
Right.
And so I know, and I mean, like even those seasons, you had cancer. Like, was I supposed to expect 100% out of you? No. And I think the whole point of this is move away from 50-50 and let's make 100-100 our goal. But is that reality? Well, I'm going to say no, it's not reality.
Sometimes it is.
But that's right. And that's why your goal every day, it doesn't even matter what season you're in.
Right.
It still needs to be your goal. It may look a little different in those seasons, but that's where grace comes in.
That's right.
And we talk a lot about how you have to give each other grace.
That's right.
And so, when I'm in a tough season, you're in a tough season, one's having to just pull a little bit more of the weight, that's when grace is given. But that also doesn't give me an out.
That's right.
Like
That's
I
right.
still wake up in the morning and have to say, to the best of my ability,
That's right.
I am giving 100% to my marriage and to my family today,
right.
whatever
That's
that can look
and
like.
I think that has to be a purposeful thing that you say. Just something that came to my mind while you were talking was that the most recent season for me is not the crisis and not the cancer and not this past summer, but the most recent season for us is Luke going to college. And we handled that differently. We both processed that differently. He's been gone a semester now and on his second semester, and that was something neither one of us has ever walked through.
Right.
So waking up, giving each other grace, knowing you're handling that different than I'm handling that. And on days where I was just struggling because I'm a mama and I missed my kid, he would step up and not just do things around the house, but pour into me extra and love extra on me because you knew that I needed that type of thing. And so, it just has to be, I didn't wake up that day and go, gosh, I really miss Luke. So today I'm just going to take everything I can get from Rusty and maybe I'll feel better. That's not it. I went through it thinking today I'm going to give to the best of my ability to my family. And it was maturity on my spouse's part to see that I was lacking in that and to help fill that void.
That's good. I think what I kind of want to do is, like, let's give a real practical example, like something, because we're all in different seasons. People that are watching this, I mean, they may not have a kid that went to college. They may not have gone through an affair. They may not have gone through cancer.
Right.
I mean,
Probably.
so
hopefully
none of those. I mean, I'm telling you, we've done it all. Okay, but so here's a practical example, and I'm gonna ask you a question that goes along with this. So let's just say that you are the spouse that is really trying to give 100%. And so most of the time, the male needs more of a physical relationship. So that's something that the female has to really consciously and give effort to give 100% in order to meet those needs. Okay, so let's just say, for people that are watching, that's probably one of those situations. So let's say that you're giving 100%, but I'm not. I'm a spouse that's just not on board with this or doesn't understand this concept, didn't grow up this way, whatever it is, and I'm not really giving 100%. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, well, because there are times
Absolutely.
and you do really, really good at this, but there are times I'm like, hey, reminding you, because that's part of it. But so back to your question, for me, I tend to try to give a little bit more. I just feel like that when we serve and serve well, then the other spouse recognizes that and sees that, and ideally then comes on alongside of that. Are you asking specifically physically?
No, I'm just saying, what
it.
can you do? So I'll flip it around for a second. Let's flip it around to the other spouse. So let's say it's me.
Yeah.
Let's say that I'm the one that's really, and for a male, and in most relationships, we're talking about you immediately go to working and doing things around the house, helping around the house, cleaning the dishes, picking up the toys from the kids, washing the clothes, whatever it might be. So let's say I'm doing that all the time. But I look over at my spouse and I say, well, you ain't really giving 100%.
That's right.
Okay? So that's reality. I mean, that's a situation that I bet 90% of the people watching this would say that is exactly something that happens.
And not male, female. Because I have people that I've talked to that the male gives a ton, and then I have a bunch of people I talk to where the female is busting her tail. And, and that's not uncommon. And I want you to hear you're not alone in that, because I think a lot of men, and then we're going to go back to that, a lot of men get stuck in the 50s era of the woman cooks, cleans, does the dishes, blah, 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 and get the kids to help you. And that's just not how our world is anymore, because most women work. And if they're not working, they're working taking care of children
the kids all day
long. So there is no reality where I feel like it's okay for a man to come in, expect dinner on the table, and prop his feet up in the recliner and watch TV.
Right.
Like that's not giving 100% towards your spouse.
And sometimes I think in their eyes, in their defense, they can think, well, I am giving 100% because I'm providing for my family all day.
That's right. Yeah.
But that's not an excuse to come home and check out.
That's a financial and physical
and again,
provision.
That is one of those things that it's the big picture of giving 100%. Yeah, I'm going to give 100% at my job because I want to provide and give what's best for my family. But so going back to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think we have a tendency to keep score.
Yes.
And everybody does. And so in your mind, as the guy, you're thinking, well, my goodness, I've done the dishes 2 times this week. I've washed the clothes, whatever. I'm not really getting in return. And again, that's
it goes to what are you doing it for?
That's right. It's the whole motivation thing. I've mentioned this on one of the podcasts before, where I said that every morning, like, I literally wake up and pray and say, God, I want to serve Heather. I want to serve my family without expecting anything in return. And so one of the things, though, that you can do, if you feel like that you're just completely giving 100% and you're never getting anything in return, like, we need to talk about communication at some point in this thing and how to do that. But I think it's okay to talk about that and to be able to like not to be able to say, look, I mean, I've done this, and this. Here's my checklist, and let me show it to you. And I mean,
you got nothing.
and I mean, you really haven't done anything for me recently. Like, it's not that. It's more of, hey, you know, I have committed to giving 100%, and I feel like these areas I am really, really trying and giving 100%. And if those aren't really meeting your needs and you would rather me focus my attention on something else, then please tell me, because honestly, here's some things that I just feel like I'm really struggling and need and desire, and those aren't being met.
Right.
So how can we work on that together? I mean, there's a way to talk, but there's always going to be relationships where one is given 100% and the other is not. So you have to learn how to have a conversation about that.
And I mean, we didn't talk about this. We hadn't talked about a lot of this that we're talking about right now, because it's just kind of on the fly most of the time. But I mean, I can admit that you've had a conversation with me right down that line several years ago. You know, he had really picked up on how important it was to me for acts of service to help out around the house, and he did. And I was coming home from school just exhausted, and then relieved that he was helping with some of the just daily things to take care of the house. And he sat me down and he was like, and it was so in love. I mean, we talk a lot about speaking truth in love. It wasn't attacking by any means. And I remember specifically you asking me to not get defensive. Like, before you said, you were like, I'm gonna speak truth into this, and please just don't get defensive. And that's hard for me. That's kind of, but I mean, part of his asking was, I do these and these things, and I hope that that's helping you out. Is that helping you out? And I'm like, yes, of course. And and part of his conversation was just needing affirmation in that making sure that I saw those things, and that was my failure.
And that it was important.
And
because
that it was
if
important.
it's not important, then let's shift our attention and
Let me
focus
do
to something else.
That's right. That's right. But one area where I wasn't giving, and you pulled the physical part. I would just be so tired from the day that I would say, and it wasn't like I was telling him no. I just wasn't giving him permission through my words and my actions to ask for something physical. It was, and I think that that's part of giving. Like, I don't think there's a man in the country that wants to come in from work and is excited about doing dishes.
Right.
But, you walk in and you have your wife's reaction to how thankful we are that you did that, and one less thing we had to do. And then I think us women, or in some marriages men, have to then make sure that we are meeting the needs of our spouse in ways that we may not be saying, oh, I want to walk right in from school and do that, but make purposeful time set apart. It doesn't have to be at night. It can be on a Saturday morning or a Sunday after church or something, where I know that that's important to you. And I know about Rusty, that he would rather come home to a dirty house, no meal on the table, all of these things, and still have me physically in the bedroom. That's most important to him. And I know that about him, so I have to purposefully make time to do that and give 100% in that area, just like he's giving 100% in areas that make me feel loved and me feel affirmed.
Yeah, and so I know we shifted back to this because I do think it's a very, very practical thing. And like I said, I don't know the dynamics of every family, but I can imagine that almost all couples go through this sort of thing. And so that's very, very practical. But I do want to just remind everybody that it's so much more than physical and cleaning the house. Like
right.
it's not that simple.
right.
So it is I am giving 100% to my spouse in every area that I can. And I know that my spouse, although she's committed to that, she's not going to be able to do it all the time. And so I'm going to give grace. And when I have to give grace, that's not a checklist or a scorecard. It is true grace, and I continue because I know that I'm going to fail.
Right.
So, I mean, is that the best way to, I guess, kind of summarize it?
Absolutely. And knowing that we are giving 100% to honor God.
Yep.
In our marriage, in our physical aspect, in taking care of our bodies, and taking care of our families, we give 100% to honor God.
Yeah.
And we're giving 100% to the spouse that He's blessed us with.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is this. I know we've talked a lot about self-care, and some of you are probably thinking, how do I have 100% to give in all these areas? Like, I can't give 100% to myself and take care of myself and give 100%. And that's where I think
And
that
work.
But I think that that's where we are wrong. When we are taking care of ourselves, like we said, you have so much more that overflows and can give. And so, none of this stuff that we talk about is contradictory or contradicting each other. It all works together.
Right.
So, there's lots of books and articles that you can go read that'll say, hey, take these steps to affair-proof your marriage. And I can't stand those. And there's lots of reasons. And one of them is because if I read that book and I take those 5 steps, but she doesn't take those 5 steps, then we could still have somebody's going to have an affair. So I don't like those, but I would venture out on a limb and say this principle that we just said, if both spouses commit to giving 100%, not 50-50, but 100%, your marriage will be the best that it can be.
That's right.
Because you're both giving 100%. And if you want to affair-proof your marriage, that's the way to do it.
That's right. And guys, if you're in a spot where you're giving 100% and your spouse is not, just keep praying towards that and keep hopping on here and watching these videos, and you do your 100%. That is glorifying to God that you are doing your 100%. And remember, you can't change your spouse. You become the person that God wants you to be, and let God take care of your spouse.
Yep. So, hey, I hope that was an encouragement to all of you. I mean, it was an encouragement to me just to sit here and talk about it. And it's a great reminder, something that we need to do every single day. So, thanks for watching. I hope that you'll like and share this on all of our different social media platforms. And we'll be back with you next week. See you then.